What's happening, YouTube? Jay here again with another video, and this is a special one because it marks the first video that I'm going to post using my new Sony a6600. So for those of you who have been watching my videos, hopefully you can tell the difference between the quality of this video and all my past ones. It's really exciting stuff. I've been playing with it for the last month, trying to get all the kinks worked out and make sure all my settings are good. So hopefully the quality is improved. Hopefully you all enjoy the way this looks. And I'm really excited to start pumping out videos with this particular camera. But let's stop talking about the camera. We're actually gonna go ahead and talk about that later on. Today's video is gonna be about another keyboard. We're gonna be talking about the KBD67 MkII by AIO3 and KBD Fans. We're gonna discuss my likes, my dislikes, and whether or not I think you should rock this for your PC setup. Stay tuned. So to quickly run down the specs of this keyboard, this is a keyboard collaboration between AIO3 and KBD Fans. I've been a big fan of AIO3 boards. I love the way that they all look and sound. It's more my style, so I'm very excited to review this board. It is a 65% keyboard starting at $215 USD on KBDfans.com. It comes in various colors and aluminum, and there's two different colors for polycarbonate, which is white and black. The KBD67 MkII does come with both a hot swap and solderable PCB, the hot swap version having per key RGB lighting, whereas the soldering version doesn't. So to give you a little bit of a background of my order history, I had my eye on this keyboard for quite some time, just because I wasn't ready to jump into the super high-end keyboards when I first started into this hobby. I kind of wanted to get something a little bit more budget friendly, so meaning a little bit less than, $300, $200. And this keyboard actually was something that I was looking into getting quite a while ago. However, because of funds and just life, I wasn't able to get my hands on one. Plus, they were only available through specific drops on certain days and group buys. So I had the opportunity this past summer to go ahead and purchase the black, they call it the black ink polycarbonate version, and it looked like it looked awesome on the website. I couldn't wait to get my hands on it, and I really wanted to go ahead and try this board out to see if it was, a huge step up from, like, let's say a Tofu, or like, let's say an MK65. Definitely a step up from the drop alt that I used to have. So the group buy ran in the summer, and the cutoff date for the group buy was July 13th. I didn't have the funds at the time to try to get this board. It was like a couple of days before I actually got paid, so I was kind of sad that I wasn't going to be able to get my hands on it. Luckily though, on the 18th of July, I was able to just look at the page just to see, be sad and be sad about what I missed out on. And luckily there was actually one spot available to purchase this board in the group buy. So somebody must have canceled, someone must have, refunded their money and opened up a spot for me to go ahead and sneak in and try to take that last spot up. And so I was able to purchase the purchase in on the group buy, and I was super excited because I was so hyped about the color of this board. I've never tried a polycarbonate board before, and since this board always to me really looked nice, I wanted to go ahead and try it out, and I was super excited to finally be able to get my hands on it. So that was kind of a luck thing. So originally the expected shipping date was supposed to be around September 30th. But obviously with COVID and manufacturing and shipping delays, we all knew that wasn't going to happen. This board actually arrived at my doorstep on October 26th, so almost a month later than what the expected shipping date was. And with most group buys, you're expecting, or not expecting, but hoping that it comes by the estimated shipping date. But with things that are happening in the world right now with the virus, putting delays on everything, you can almost guarantee a delay in something being delivered late. So it wasn't a huge deal. I knew that was going to happen. It's happened with other products that I've ordered before in the recent past. So it wasn't anything new to me. We were just, okay, whatever. It was a month late. I'm happy I got it. That's all that matters. Okay, so to go over my likes and dislikes, first and foremost, the keyboard looks amazing. I was always curious about owning a polycarbonate keyboard, but when I saw the black polycarbonate keyboard for this come out, I just felt like I had to have it. I don't know if it's nostalgia from owning the Game Boy Colors back in the day with the clear plastics. But I needed this keyboard. I wanted it because it looked great on renders, and once I got it in the hands, it looked, you know, the pictures didn't do justice with how pretty this keyboard looks to me. The only downside about polycarbonate is that it does tend to scratch easier than I'd like. There was a time where I was taking my watch off and I was kind of near my keyboard and I accidentally let go of it too soon. The watch fell and scratched the polycarbonate case. So now there's a tiny little nick and scratch on the side of it. So that's a little bit of a downside, but overall the looks of the keyboard are what really make this thing stand out to me on my desk, especially in the black polycarbonate. It just has a nice contrast to everything else on my desk. Also, the blocker between the arrow keys and the rest of the bottom row looks really nice to me. It makes it have a clean, nice aesthetic compared to other 65% keyboards like maybe the Tofu or the NK65, where you have that whole row of 1U keys next to the spacebar. I'm not a really big fan of that. I like the blocker there just because it helps separate the arrow keys from the rest of that row, and it just gives it that nice clean look that I really like. Another thing I was a fan of was the brass weight. The brass weight isn't polished like I originally thought. It's actually sandblasted or has some type of coating on there to make it look like a matte finish. It has a lot of texture to it, so to me it feels like this weight isn't going to scratch as easily as maybe something that was polished. Now, I'm a fan of that because if I tend to be, you know, a little rough in transport with my keyboards. Like, let's say if I take it to work and put it in my backpack, I don't want it to scratch around and look nasty. But given that it's a complete polycarbonate case, I'm probably going to put it in a case anyway. So just a heads up, if you are planning on buying this case in the future, know that the weight isn't going to be polished. So one area of improvement that I can say for this board is that I wish it had more plate options. The only option that you get is a fixed brass plate. There is no aluminum version, there's no polycarbonate version, there's no palm version. You don't get any other plate options besides brass, and I think that's a little bit of a downside because different people like different sounds when they're typing, and if you're using a brass weight, it tends to make your switches a little bit more brighter, which I'm not a fan of really. It's not bad, but I'd rather have more of a deeper sound when I'm typing on this keyboard. So I wish there was an aluminum version. I wish there was a polycarbonate version even. So that's kind of a limitation that you get when purchasing this keyboard. So regardless of the limitation on the plate, it's not too bright. It still sounds great. And I'm actually okay with the layout that's on there, but for other people, this might not be, you know, something that they're going to be into just because they want a specific layout, like let's say a split space or maybe ISO layout. So just keep that in mind in case you're looking at trying to see if this is a good purchase for you. I did end up using the piece of foam that was available with the keyboard. So it does help dampen the sound just a little bit. It does feel a little stiffer than I'd like. You can't really take advantage of the cutout that's in the PCB. The brass plate is just too stiff. To say that it's a soft typing experience is probably not true. So with all that said, let's just take a listen. So what'd you think? Doesn't sound too bad, right? Sounds pretty good. So for those of you who are into the RGB thing for your gaming rigs, if you're looking for that specific feature, make sure to go with the hot swap version of the PCB, just because the soldered version of the PCB does not have perky RGB lighting. So that's just a quick FYI for all of you RGB fans out there. As far as the build difficulty, it was pretty easy. I mean, it's a standard 65% layout. The plate is static, so you can't really change it up there and mess that up. It is a top mount keyboard, so it's pretty straightforward. It's not really tough. I would say the toughest part is making sure you have the right screwdrivers because the screws that go into the top half of the case are a little bit deeper than what the bottom screws are showing, obviously because of the angle. So I would say that's the build difficulty isn't hard at all. It's not difficult at all. I would say it's pretty easy compared to other boards that I've seen built out there in the wild. So what are my final thoughts about this keyboard? If you're looking at a keyboard that's a small step above your usual custom entry boards, like your Drop Alts, your Tofu 65s, your NK65 aluminum versions, this is definitely something that is a small step above that. However, I feel like with the recent releases and announcements of all these new entry-level boards that are coming out with the injection mold process, it's providing keyboards to a wider audience of people that provide a similar, if not better, typing experience at a much lower cost. This polycarbonate keyboard that I have is machined, okay? So that makes it more expensive than a keyboard that is injection molded. However, if you're okay with getting a board that has the possibility of having, you know, some blemishes that probably aren't visible once you fully assemble it, you can probably get a similar, if not better, typing experience out of those newer boards that are a lot cheaper that are coming out than you can out of this board. And again, this is not to knock on the KBD67 MkII because it is a good board. This could be somebody's end game. Somebody out there who's not looking to spend a lot of dime on a keyboard but wants a good sounding and typing experience board. This is a good board to have. However, again, there are other boards that are coming out that have a similar, if not better, typing experience at a much lower cost. So if people ask me, do I recommend this board out of all the other boards out there that are entry level, it's hard for me to say yes. Now, if it was maybe 6 months ago, I would have said, heck yeah, this is probably the one to go with. If you're not wanting to spend too much money on a very expensive keyboard that's like 400 plus, now times have changed. Things are a little bit different. New boards are coming out. They're a lot cheaper. Sure, they're using a different process for manufacturing, and there's probably a little bit more blemishes than there would be with a machine product, but you can't ignore the fact that the typing experiences are similar, if not better, for much cheaper. If you are dead set on the KBD67 MkII, get the aluminum version. Don't get the polycarbonate version, because to me, the polycarbonate version is just a little bit too pricey. Yes, you're getting a machine product. Yes, there's probably way less blemishes on this than there would be an injection molded board, but I just can't justify $300 and some odd that this board costs when you can get something that sounds and feels and looks better that costs sub $200. Do I regret buying this board? Not at all. I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. I like the way it sounds. Would I have probably skipped on it if I knew what I knew now? Probably. But again, not knocking on the board itself. It is a great board. AIO makes some great stuff. I went ahead and got myself a Vega, and I am super excited to get my hands on that thing when it comes in. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this keyboard. Again, I like the keyboard. If you're dead set on the KBD67 MkII, I have no problem just saying, hey, pull the trigger. But if somebody were to ask me, should I get this board or this other board, like let's say the Ramakara, I'd probably lean more towards these other models that are, again, providing similar, if not better, typing experiences at a much lower cost. So let me know in the comment section what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I could have included other information that might have helped you make your purchase decision? And as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.